So, folks, there's this guy named Patrick Bet David who is not the brightest bulb. You know, he's a little bit dull, to say the least. And recently embarrassed because people's connected him to an alleged multi-level marketing scheme. You know, whatever. I need to mention that because it's important. Not the subject of this video, but important, and I'm going to never let him live that down. However, I found this, and, you know, this is the kind of conservative bullshit that is sticky, right? This is the kind that, you know, a conservative, even if they're not terribly engaged with news, will hear and then retain and then throw it out there, and we'll probably see someone in, like, I don't know, 8 months rattling off something about this, you know? Like, it's gonna be out there floating around in the ether. And so I figure we better address it a little bit because, you know, I can see, you know, TYT covering this or something. I can see this like propagating farther and like getting some sort of mainstream traction. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I was going through the Valuetainment archive, the videos, and I came across this video that is titled, "This Can't Be Real. Teachers in This Blue State Face Controversial New Standards." So, like, I got a little curious. I watched the video, and then I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole. But let's watch the video together. It's not terribly long. Let's check it out, shall we?
Teachers will no longer need to pass basic reading, writing, and math tests for certification in this blue state. Okay? Tell me how that makes sense.
Can't wait to hear what's...
Damn, how... Whoa, that's pretty inflammatory. That's crazy. They won't have to pass a reading and writing test in order to be a teacher? That sounds really bad. I want my teachers to be able to pass a reading and writing and math test.
State.
Sense.
I can't wait.
Tell me if that
What
makes
state is it,
any
PPD?
sense. Here we go. A
China.
New Jersey law,
New Jersey.
effective January 1st, 2025. All these people from Jersey. We know one too many of them, to be honest with you.
Sitting in the room.
By the way, it seems like half of the Valuetainment companies hired by Jersey because one of our HR guys is from Jersey, Matt, and I tease him all the time. So why do you keep hiring people from Jersey? Everyone's from Jersey at this point.
Yeah, because they're all trying to get the hell out of Jersey and move to Florida.
Removes, effective January 1st, removes the requirement for teacher candidates to pass basic skill tests in reading, writing, and mathematics to gain certification. Democratic Governor Phil Murphy, Rob, see if you got a speech of this year, sign a measure into law as part of the 2025 state budget to address teacher shortages, with Democratic Senator Jim Beach stating, "We need more teachers. This is the best way to get them."
So just
They're
lower
not
standards.
teachers.
Yeah.
They're not teachers. If they can't pass, they can't teach, guy. What do you mean this is the best way to get them? The law, strongly backed by New Jersey Educational Association, NJEA, follows a trend in states like New York, California, Arizona, which have lower teacher certification requirements. NJEA called the testing requirement an unnecessary barrier to entering profession. Teachers in New Jersey currently earn an average of $81,000 a year, according to the NEA. It's so weird. So we dropped out of the 81 countries on the OECD, I think it's called. We're ranked 34 in math.
Damn, that's really bad.
And rather than raising the standards, we're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Tom, thoughts?
I can't believe that he actually said that, that the NGEA called the requirement an unnecessary barrier to entering the profession. That would be like cardiologists no longer required to identify a heart in a lineup of internal organs. Yeah. What about that? That's a pancreas, sir. What about that? Stomach. Well, they're in the same neighborhood, so you know, we'll let you go in.
Potato, potato.
Yeah, it says, what's this thing? Ow! Well, that's a scalpel. You're grabbing it from the wrong end. That's okay. So it's like,
yeah, it would be pretty crazy if New Jersey was saying their teachers didn't need to be able to read, write, or do math. That would indeed be very crazy.
So, but I'll tell you, you know what? This is state here. Tell you what, this is what the states are trying to do. Do they have a shortage of teaching? Yes. Do they need to get more teachers in the classroom? Yes. But do they actually care about the quality of education?
That is wild.
No, they don't. They just want everyone. Remember the Democrats? It's like the Special Olympics. Everybody gets a diploma. That's all they care about. And by the way, I'll show you. It's also happened.
Wait, what?
Everybody gets a. They just want everyone. Remember the Democrats? It's like the Special Olympics. Everybody gets a diploma.
That's not how it works, though. If that was how it works, then everyone would be graduating with the diploma, and that's not at all what any of the data shows.
That's all they care about. And by the way, I'll show you. It's also happened.
It's also not how the Special Olympics work.
We saw it happen in insurance, and it kind of shocked us. We took pride in the fact that PHP agents were trained and could pass their insurance test because there's a thing called suitability, that you would sit down, have a conversation with someone to make sure that the insurance you're recommending was suitable for their needs, their family. And by the way, if you tried to just push something through, the underwriter at the insurance company would say, this policy wasn't suitable, we're not approving this. So there was actually a check and balance in that. But check this out. Pat and I were stunned. I remember the conversation we had. Today, in almost all 50 states, you have to get a 70% pass rate on a 3-hour exam with your individual state that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Adam did that years and years ago. And he takes CE courses to stay fresh.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, stay fresh.
I'm staying fresh.
California felt that that wasn't fair, and they reduced it to 60%.
Oh, sorry, Paralympics. Sorry. Just defaulted to his language, and I have no idea why my brain did that because he's a moron.
That now a passing grade was 60% to get an insurance license in California. This is real numbers. And we were sitting in his office because I showed him. I said, check this out, Pat. They've left insurance adjuster and bail bondsman at 70%. So to be a bail bondsman, you had to pass a test at 70%. But to be a life insurance salesperson with the complexity of life insurance, only 60.
Yeah, it sure would be crazy if you could become a teacher while being illiterate. That indeed would be crazy.
This is the states thinking that they are helping people get jobs, but you know what they're really doing? They're messing with the quality that those jobs are going to deliver. They are stealing from the citizens that are going to receive services from teachers and in California from insurance agents by lowering the, they said, well, these people need to get jobs. But by the way, who's going to pay them in those jobs?
Yeah, exactly.
The state.
The state is.
The state. And in California, they lower the insurance license. All the insurance companies are going to pay a commission. It's not our problem.
That's going to suck.
But this is horrible. The net is the states. And by the way, they followed a trend in, let's go easy on New Jersey, New York, California, and Arizona, which have lowered teacher certification requirements. So ladies and gentlemen, 2 years, 3 years, look for the educational effectiveness scorecard that they keep on the states, and let's find out where those states end up with lower quality teachers. You know what that also does to cost of living? It raises it up because you, Vinny, and your wife say, you know what? We can barely afford private school, but what would the Catholic school charge us? The Catholic schools, parochial schools usually have the most scholarship dollars, and it's usually the cheapest of the private school options. And you're talking about tightening up your belt, working 2 jobs so you can get better education for your kid. So they're ripping off tomorrow's citizens.
Vinny.
I just feel bad.
These people are the least intellectually curious people I've ever met or encountered, or I've never met them, but like the least intellectually curious people I've ever encountered on the internet, right? Because like I hear New Jersey gets rid of basic standards, and I think, that sounds weird. Why would they do that? I'm going to go find out more. They hear it and they're just like, yeah, that sounds about right. Evil teachers. Evil government destroying teachers. Ignoring the fact that, like, they have historically been in favor of, like, disempowering teachers unions and paying teachers less. You know, like, oh man, why can't they get any high quality teachers? Well, maybe it's because of all the cuts that they support on state levels. But let's keep going, because I promise you there's a interesting little period on this conversation.
That from, because you're gonna be able to spot which one of those kids went to that Jersey school when you ask them what's 5 + 5, and they go chicken. You're like, okay, that guy, you went to Jersey, bro. Rob, that's Rob right there.
That's Rob.
That's Rob's mathematics.
Chicken Little
Adam,
out
do you have
here.
thoughts on this or no?
Yeah, look, I was a teacher for a year. People don't know this. Before
Oh man, for a year, those poor children. Their brains were never the same.
I got into finance,
Holy.
and I was in between my hospitality nightlife days in my early 20s. I was sick of waking up at noon every single day, and I was like, I got to get a job that will enable me to at least wake up before 9 a.m.
Okay, I want to hear where this story goes, because I got some thoughts.
once a week.
Was this that
And I got a
women's
job
gymnastic thing?
as a substitute teacher, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was really cool. I was doing nightlife stuff, and after doing it for a few months, there was Christmas break, winter break, and I get a call from the school, and they go, "Hey, the second grade teacher, she's out for the rest of the year. Do you want to teach the class for the rest of the year?"
I can't imagine you
I
teaching.
go, okay, sure. It was amazing. It was awesome. I mean, when I was a substitute, I did PE, I did art, I did math, I did science. But they said you got to have one qualification to be the teacher. I said, oh yeah, what's that? Oh, you need to have a college degree. I said, look at me, baby, Florida State, go Noles. Here we go, college degree, boom, I'm in there. So now they're lowering the standards that you don't even.
You know, okay, so just as a point of reference, most states have requirements in order to get into being a substitute teacher, because most states don't just want any dipshit with a bachelor's degree coming in and being a substitute teacher. Most states require substitute teachers to be licensed teachers, which means that they have to pass tests, they have to go to classes, they have to actually learn things. And like, he was in Florida where there were no requirements, so he's just like, yeah, I was just some dipshit off the street. And he's like weirdly bragging about it.
Even need to pass basic skills in writing, reading, and mathematics. Basic, not college. Basic.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm reading a Babylon Bee article right now. So now, how many people?
So it's fascinating that he heard this headline plus additional 2 sentences, maybe. And his takeaway is that, oh, well, they let me be a substitute teacher in Florida because I had a bachelor's degree, and now they're getting rid of that, even the requirement of that. And now they won't even have a requirement for being able to be literate and do math. That would indeed be pretty crazy. If that's what they were doing.
People do I run into and I go, oh, you have kids? Where do they go to school? Oh, I homeschool my kids at this point. I ain't playing this game. Well, why do you homeschool your kids? Dude, are you freaking kidding me? What's going on in school? The indoctrination, not the education. How many people do you run into that do the homeschooling thing? How many people do you always advocate? Hey, listen, if you can, try to send your kids to private school. Private school is expensive, so a lot of people are doing the homeschooling thing. But the lowering the standards, this is affecting the youth of America that we will not see for what? 10
years.
20 plus years. I'll tell you one more quick story. I'm with Vinny at the UFC, Miami, not this past year, but the year before. I remember we're there. Remember I was like missing my keys. We go to find him. This guy from New Jersey shows up, New York, I think it was Jersey. Hey, I love you guys. Bah, 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 bah. He goes, listen, I'm a retired cop. Been in the force 20 years. I go, it's my last year. He's like, I'm so happy to get out of here. I said, what's going on? What's the deal with the cops? He goes, do you know how much they've lowered the standards to become a cop? Nobody wants to be a cop anymore. Nobody wants to be a cop. I said, who are they accepting to be a cop? He's like, fat, sloppy, lazy, donut eating dudes. I said, how's this going to affect the police force? He's like, it's not going to be good. So here's my point.
Oh God, this is really one of the dumbest segments I've ever covered on this show, and that's really saying something.
You're lowering the standards for police. You're lowering the standards for teachers. What's going to happen to the safety of our citizens? What's going to happen to the safety and
all of these conversations literally never happened. They're just making shit up on the fly. It's honestly, it's like they're playing D&D, but it's much less interesting.
Education of our kids. In Miami, we say this: no go, no go.
I want to ask you one question though. Did
he just say in Miami we say no good? That's no goo? They don't got goo in Miami?
your students ever call you a gay Jew? Tell me the truth.
What?
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck?
What's your point?
No, you can't. You know what?
I just told you
Adam-
that I was a teacher. And
Adam
I
was
don't wonder if the students were talking shit like the
Adam,
chat
no.
does.
Oh yeah, because calling someone gay and Jewish would be talking shit about them? Neither of those things are bad. Who are these clowns? These are the guys of Patrick Bet David's podcast, a conservative show that is watched. This video has been watched by almost 200,000 people, and this channel has 6.5 million subscribers. The level of discourse, like, guys, you understand how I got into streaming now? Like, literally, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll actually watch, like, a piece of conservative content. And I watched it, and it was one of the stupidest things and boringest things I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, you know, I could make better content than that. I could make jokes and provide factually correct information and, you know, a leftist analysis. And, you know, maybe that'd be good. Maybe people would like that. Like, comment, and subscribe, and drop some subs and donos so I can continue doing that. But, like, watching this, I'm taken back to that moment because, like, holy shit, this is dumb.
Adam was a good teacher. You know what? We've got a video of this. He was a really good teacher. Today we're going to talk about percentages. This is a Bloody Mary. It's 72% tomato juice. So Adam applied a lot of life learning to help these kids.
Guys, let's move on.
You guys are killing it, guys. Welcome to the comedy show.
Let's go to the next
Where's
one.
the freaking
Let's go to the
vegetables?
next one here. Vinny's got an announcement for you guys. A new product is out for all.
Oh no, we don't need to know about the new product. Thank you. Now, one thing that was really interesting about this story was that because I was intellectually curious about it and didn't just want to take a headline at face value, I Googled New Jersey removing teacher requirements, right? And what I found was really interesting, and that's predominantly the people reporting on this story were conservative, and thus, like, when I Googled it, the first, like, page and a half of, like, results, and this was a couple days ago, were from conservative outlets. And the name I kept seeing in article after article was the name of this woman. I just pulled up the article. What did I do with it? What did I do with it? All right. There we go. Found it. Da, da, da. And her name is Erica Sanzi. And she's been quoted in article after article. And she is one of the people behind Parents Defending Education. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, it's because they're one of the Moms for Liberty adjacent groups that has been talking about how, like, the gays are indoctrinating children, the transes are being predators and using bathrooms, etc., stuff like that. And she was predominantly the one quoted in all of these articles. So I decided I would go to the source, and I dug up this interview that a lot of people have been quoting. And unironically, let's just take a quick gander here at the numbers. We have about 250 people watching. And by watching this, you are going to, like, multiply the views of this video by, like, I don't know, almost 100 times. And let's take a look at this interview. And I know I'm really burying the lead here, but just come with me on this journey, right?
Welcome back. America's public school system is failing our kids, and that's why we have...
Oh, I just noticed that this was from Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Thanks, Dr. Phil. You fucking asshole. Also, are you gonna run reruns of House of Hate, the reality television show that you produced, where you put a white supremacist neo-Nazi in a house with a black woman to see what would happen?
Have our ongoing segment, A Failing Grade. And a new law out of New Jersey is showing this failure might be starting with our teachers. The state's governor just signed a law that removes the requirement.
He did what? Yeah, it didn't, I don't think it finished its first season.
For teachers to take and pass a basic skills test in order to become a certified teacher. The law was created as a way to tackle the teacher shortage. The New Jersey Education Association, a teachers union, called the skills test a barrier to certification last year.
And it's not just teachers struggling with test scores. New research shows young girls are losing their edge over boys when it comes to basic subjects like math. The Wall Street Journal analyzed test scores across the country and found that since 2019, girls' test scores have dropped to their lowest level in decades. Boys' scores have also fallen during that time, but the decline among girls has been even more severe. Researchers aren't certain why the learning gap is happening, but some believe that it's due to a rise in behavioral problems during the pandemic, causing teachers to pay more attention to boys. Other research suggests girls may be more adversely affected by the isolation of remote learning.
Joining us now is the Director of Outreach at Parents Defending Education, Erica Sanzi. She's also a former high school teacher and a former teachers union member and a mother of three. Erica, welcome to the show. So as a former teacher, what are your thoughts on this New Jersey law that's ditching the requirements of a basic skills test?
Yeah, I think this is a mistake. This is clearly a lowering of standards. And we saw this a few years ago. New York started in on this, I think, in 2017. And there it was that the barrier, it was considered a barrier to diversifying the teaching workforce because there are quite stark racial disparities in terms of how aspiring teachers do on this test. So for a while, equity was the reason, and we're going to eliminate this test so that we can diversify the teaching workforce. Teacher shortages have become the newest justification given. And while there are teacher shortages in some areas for sure, this is like putting a
Yeah, because they were making up all of that equities talk before, and obviously they needed to lower the standards so that non-white people could become teachers. That's the underlying logic she's trying to sell you on here, and I'm just begging people, conservatives especially, when you hear stuff like this, raise an eyebrow. Have some modicum of skepticism in you. Because these are some extraordinary claims and require extraordinary evidence. But we'll get to that.
Band-aid on by lowering expectations, and I don't see how anybody wins in the end in this, because again, this is not a hard test. We are not talking about something like the LSAT. This is a basic skills test. It is used as a screening mechanism to ensure basic competency in reading, writing, and math. And so the fact that the failure rates are so high for a test like that is a huge red flag. And I think there's a problem with saying it's okay to put people who can't pass that test in front of students, particularly when we have so many students trying to recover from the learning loss of the pandemic.
Yeah, and Erica, another thing that I think is interesting about this situation, I find it actually surprising, is that the state teachers union is the one advocating for the basic skills test to be removed.
Huh, that's an interesting point. Why might they do that?
You've been a teachers union member. Why do you think that the other teachers would want that requirement dropped?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the teachers. The rank and file union members and the union leadership are two very different entities. But generally speaking, teachers' unions do not like tests because tests reveal the truth. They don't like tests when it comes to testing student achievement, and they don't like tests for aspiring teachers, in part because the teachers' union's goal is to have as many members as possible because members pay dues.
At this point, if you're a conservative, a lot of people will just not along. A lot of them will just not along with this because it's confirmation bias. But real quick, that is not why unions generally do the things that they're doing. In this particular case, it's not why they're doing it. Not why they're pushing for that.
And when you have barriers in place, that means that they may have fewer members. So as a former member of the NEA in 2 states, I can say anything that they are cheerleading is most likely going to be bad for students.
That's so sad
Yeah, because of the greedy teachers in the teachers union.
to hear. Erica, it's fascinating because if you look at some of the legislature, they were cheering this on as well. New Jersey State Senator Jim Beach, he said in response to the law that we need more teachers. This is the best way to get them. Obviously, you don't agree with that. But what are some other solutions that you have seen work to solve the teacher shortage? Because that clearly is a problem in this country right now.
Is it privatizing schooling? Is it charter schools? Is it voucher programs? I bet it's one of those things.
I mean, alternative certification is certainly one way. I think that a lot of people probably don't realize that many states have very strict requirements about who can become a teacher, but it's not based on competency. It's not based on quality. It's based on, did you get a specific degree? Did you check off these?
Wait, did you get the degree is one of the ways you ensure the quality. The degree is supposed to not, you're supposed to be able to pass your degree. That's one of the bottlenecks. That the degree is a certificate saying that you are competent at the subject.
Certain boxes that allow you to have certification. And so what ends up happening is a lot of mid-career people, scientists, biologists, surgeons, engineers, people that are very, very bright in their field often can't get into a classroom because they need an alternative certification because they didn't go to a college of education. So that is definitely a short-term fix, is allowing for more.
So many teachers are, guys, I don't know if you know much about teachers, but like they gotta get master's degrees in education. You know, like you're going to like 6 years of like higher ed, and then you got to get you take your certification test. You got to make sure you do so many different things. At least that's the system I'm familiar with here in Minnesota. Maybe it's different in New Jersey. Maybe.
Alternative pathways to certification. The longer term fix is that this is an indictment on our K-12 system and on our colleges of education. So we're graduating all of these students from high school who aren't passing this basic competency test. Then they go to college, to a college.
What are you talking about? The basic competency test was for the teachers, not the high school students.
College of education. And the colleges of education get paid full tuition no matter how well or poorly their graduates do.
Yeah, that's how a college works.
So if a college of education has a large percentage of their graduates failing this test, it's no skin off their nose because they get paid in full. So
but that's the point. That's the point of having a degree. That, like, not everyone who goes through the program is able to get the degree. What?
That's also a problem right there. I think that those two systems need a really
like the idea is she putting forward that like if someone pays tuition to go to college, they are entitled to a degree in their field of their choosing? Because that's not how that has ever worked.
hard look.
Yeah, a very important issue that clearly needs better solutions right now. Erica Sanzi, thank you so much for your time and expertise tonight.
So, you know, like I had some questions. And, you know, I searched around, and wouldn't you know it, I found a local news outlet actually covering this story. The New Jersey Monitor did a story about this. Basically, back in May of 2024, because they were covering it as it was making its way through New Jersey's state legislature, right? So let's take a look. What is this all about? Measure ending basic skills tests for teachers clears Senate. Now that's interesting, right? Let's work our way through this one. I'll even make it big on screen so you all can read along with me. A bill that would bar state education officials from requiring teaching candidates to complete basic skills tests to obtain teaching certificates cleared the Senate after an overwhelming vote Monday. The bill, which cleared the chamber in a 34-2 vote, is meant to address New Jersey's longstanding teacher shortage by removing barriers to would-be education seekers, or would-be educators seeking to enter the field. We need more teachers. This is the best way to get them, said bill sponsor Senator Jim Beach of Camden. The bill's movement comes only months after Governor Phil Murphy signed a different measure creating an alternate pathway to certification that allows candidates to eschew the basic skills tests. So this is not even new. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember that lady, that conservative lady in the interview we just watched, who talked about the alternate method of certification being a valid path that she endorses? That also allows people to go around these skill tests. But weirdly, no one brought that up, huh? That's so strange. Let's keep going, though. That law allows teachers to obtain an alternate teaching certificate without sitting for a praxis core test, the basic skills exam, and that certificate could be converted into a standard certificate after 4 years at the same school. The legislation approved Monday would strike those alternate certification provisions from the law and would leave some testing requirements in place for teaching candidates in specific subject areas. Oh, you mean there were other tests and competencies that teachers had to demonstrate? Well, why, whatever could those be? One might ask. A would-be math teacher, for example, would still be required to earn a passing grade on a praxis subject matter exam on mathematics, while a biology teacher must still complete general science and biology subject matter tests. Oh! So they still have to pass proficiency in the topic of their expertise that they are teaching. That's crazy! It's so frustrating. Not one of these conservative outlets mentions this whatsoever. They just, for 10 minutes, they chuckle to themselves and like talk about how, well, 15 years ago I was a substitute teacher and, they'd let anyone in these days. And they couldn't even be bothered to look at what's going on in New Jersey to understand the issue. This is their story went out to hundreds of thousands of people. That lady's quote got repeated in endless Fox News segments and stories. And you know what? That's going to be sticky. People are going to remember that. They're going to be like, hey, remember New Jersey got rid of all of its teaching requirements? Yuck, yuck, yuck. We're still doing pretty good down here in Oklahoma. Like, that's how this works. This story will latch itself onto people's brains and confirm their conservative worldview, despite the fact that it is complete and utter horseshit. But let's keep going. Basic tests would still be required for those seeking limited certificates of eligibility. The Assembly previously passed the measure, but must concur with amendments made in the Senate last week before it reaches Governor Phil Murphy's desk. A separate measure that advanced through the Senate Monday would waive the state's residency requirement for teachers for 3 years in a bid to draw more educators to the Garden State. New Jersey broadly requires its public workers to live in the state with few exceptions. Under the bill, school districts would have to advertise positions to in-state residents for at least 3 months before they could hire someone who lives in another state, provided the out-of-state applicant was not employed by a New Jersey school in the prior year. Out-of-state educators hired under the bill would be required to move to New Jersey within 3 years of their hiring, and the bill would require the Department of Education to draft a report weighing the elimination of the residency requirement after the end of the 3-year waiver period created by the bill. This bill prioritizes New Jersey residents for teaching positions and only extends eligibility to out-of-state applicants if a role remains vacant, said bill sponsor Senator Teresa Ruiz, the chamber's majority leader. By temporarily removing the residency requirement, we can see how it helps to mitigate shortages and determine how best to move forward. So, they are actually seriously addressing this issue, and they're not just allowing illiterate individuals with no education degrees to come in and teach children. The lies sometimes I feel like I get too, used to the lying from conservatives. And sometimes it just hits me perfectly to make me furious. And this is one of those, right? Instead of actually explaining that, well, there are already some pretty gnarly requirements when you are a teacher in New Jersey, even without the basic reading and writing and math one, because again, the teachers have gotten master's degrees. They don't generally need to prove that they can write. But there's something about this where, like, the narrative is being spun as, well, the greedy teachers union just wants to hire more unskilled, like, African American teachers. That is so heinously gross to me. It's, like, insidiously disgusting, that level of racist lie that they're peddling and is going to, like, be listened to by untold numbers of conservatives and then repeated as if it's truth without any kind of check. That bothers me a lot. And there needs to be more pushback on this stuff.
Riverbait Sagebox.
The Shamanite, thank you for subscribing with Prime. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's frustrating. Not only that, let's see here. I wanted to look this up real quick. Okay, I don't have the article anymore, but, like, this test, right, needs to be administered by, like, one person. So there is a big bottleneck here. It's not just that the test may be difficult or that it's a redundancy that is unnecessary given the onerous requirements to even be eligible for the position in the first place, but it is also a limited commodity. There are only so many testing days. There are only so many, like, opportunities, and if something happens or throws off your schedule, or, like, there's a family emergency, suddenly a person who may take that, you know, is no longer eligible until next year. You know, like, this is a problem. And it's one of the reasons why this bottlenecks the process so much. So, yeah. Mithril, thank you for becoming a member over on YouTube. I appreciate you. Thank you so goddamn much. But yeah, it's infuriating to see the lies. And I hope I never lose that righteous indignation. 'Cause, man, it needs to feel, it needs to not become normal. Like, this blatant lying and propaganda, we cannot allow it to become the accepted norm. You know, even if it becomes commonplace, we should never view it as normal. And with that being said, support your local teachers union, okay?